It won't run until your voice is on here. And it'll stop if you stop talking and watch. And when you start talking, it starts up again.
Okay.
So you can take a pause with silence, with no noise.
But record. Yeah, you got to hold it right up to your mouth.
Yeah, it's going now. Well, I was born here in Bunkerville.
Oh, hold on.
Damn.
Do me also a favor. Hold that so it's stuck in there. And hold it up to your mouth.
I was born here in Bunkerville the 1st of September 1950. My mother is Lily Mae Barnum. My father was Charles Albert Leavitt, the son of Dudley Leavitt. And I was the 11th of 13 children. And there's only 2 of us left, my youngest sister and myself.
You gave it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I don't think I have any personality.
You have a great personality.
Now, I don't know that I have any goals. The only goal I have is to live good enough to get back to where my husband is. Whether he'll be glad to see me or not, I don't know. And to see that all my kids are good enough to be there to see that they live a life they've been taught.
And what type of life is that?
There will be a Christ-like life and an honest life. Just a good life. Love everybody. Yes, I can remember now. My oldest brother was Albert Leavitt and Leila Leavitt, Verde Ann, Jetta, Randy, Irma, Ethel, one that passed away while a baby, Hiram, Elsie, myself, Eleanor, and Amy.
So you were the 3rd to the youngest?
Yes.
Growing up?
It was a good place to live. Still is a good place to live. I don't think that there's any money floating around. But we were just as well off as anybody in Mesquite or Bunkerville, anywhere around. We were just as well off as they were. We were all poor and we didn't know any better.
And was it farming or what?
Farming.
What type of farming?
Well, alfalfa, corn, melons, cane, sweet potatoes, pomegranates. That's
And
what mine was.
okay, that's what we want to hear.
I had to get up in the morning
What time?
and,
About?
I'd imagine around 6 o'clock,
Okay.
maybe a little earlier, because I had cows to milk, I had milk to separate, dishes to do, and if it was my turn to fix breakfast, I had that to do. And the dishes and everything was to be done before we went to school.
And what time did you go up?
I think it was 8 o'clock. That bell rang and we was to be there.
So you got to do breakfast, the dishes, and before 8 o'clock.
Hmm.
Okay.
And when we come home, if it was on a Tuesday when it was the Relief Society, we knew that we had dishes to do, dinner dishes, because Mother was in Relief Society and she would always go to that, so she'd leave the dishes for us to do. They'd all be stacked up and everything, but we had to heat the water and had to do the dishes.
And where did you get your water?
Well, from the river. We had cisterns that our dads had dug, down in the ground, and cement them in and would fill it. Usually when the snow water would come down the river, we'd fill the cistern, and that would last us until the next year. And other than that, we had a big barrel set out with the ditch, and we'd let the water settle in that, and we'd put ashes in the stove in there to cleanse the water so it'll be soft and we could do our washing and things with that water.
Washing and bathing,
Mm-hmm.
and you had
Pardon?
naps. Back to the school. Where the school building was here?
Yes. Right down where the community center is, and then on the other side there's 2 more buildings on there, over there.
Okay.
Where the park is and where the, let me get it in my head now, where the fire station is would be about where one of them was. And where the park is would be where the older one was. On Saturdays we had our Saturdays work to do, clean house and whatever mother had other than that to do, or if it was summertime for flute to bottle or whatnot, or if it was winter time. And then we all had to have a bath come Saturday. No matter what, that number 3 tub was brought in and we had our baths. And if we could sneak another one in between Saturday and the next Saturday, we done it. Sometimes it wasn't quite that handy. But what memories I had, what recreation we got around here, we had to make it ourselves. We couldn't think, well, we go to the store tonight, or we can sit and watch television, or we can sit and watch the radio, or whatnot. But whatever we had to do, we had to think it up our own self and do.
What were some of the most fun things that you can remember?
I don't believe a Sunday ever came that my girlfriends and I went to mostly my brothers and sisters' homes. And I guess maybe because I had more of them than the rest of it, I don't know. But we always knew that they'd have a good Sunday dinner. And there'd got to be something left, a piece of cake or a piece of pie, something would be left over. And there always was. We got our treat each time. And then we'd go out on their lawns or in their yard. If they didn't have a lawn, most of them had a lawn. We'd go out on the lawn and lay around and talk, be silly, wait for the boys to pass. And I think there's only 2 cars in Bunkerville that I could remember. And my brother-in-law had one, and Roy Waite had one. Well, I'll take it back. I think Tom Leavitt had one. That was his boy, Lynn, was our age too. And so.
And who was your brother-in-law?
Kenneth Earl.
Okay. And
then boys every once in a while would get the car on Sunday. And so we'd think, well, they'll pick us up and take us for a ride. And we'd get out and walk the streets up and down here so the boys could, it was waiting for them to come by and pick us up. And they'd just wave their hand at us as they'd pass us. Oh, that'd make us so mad. So we'd think, well, we'll get even with them. We'll go have a party. We won't even invite them. So we'd go. I don't believe there's hardly a week that we didn't have a candy party. We'd go and make homemade candy.
What kind?
Well, mostly divinity or molasses taffy or honey taffy. Mostly honey because there's more honey, I think, than there was molasses at that time. But and a good share of the time, if we made divinity, we ate it with a spoon. We wasn't that good. I remember this one time, one of the girls says, "Oh, let's make honey fluff this time instead of divinity." Oh, that was rotten. I didn't care too much for honey candy anyway. I love honey, but I didn't like the candy.
So you also had chickens.
Well, we raised a lot of chickens. We'd have chicken parties once in a while. We wasn't like the boys. We couldn't get out and steal the chickens. They'd have a chicken roast nearly every week, but they'd have to steal their chickens. And with my husband, he said, he'd always laugh. He'd say they had the chicken parties to his place, and he played for the dance orchestra, and so he had a little money once in a while, and enough for a dance ticket or or whatnot, so they'd always say, "Oh, Dutch, you bring the grease, we'll bring the chickens." When they bring the chickens in, and he said, this one time he said, if I didn't know better, I'd say that was my mom's old redhead sitting in out there. And it was. But it was a lot of fun.
What were your favorite toys?
My favorite what?
Toys.
Well, I think it had to be dolls. I remember this one year, I guess it was about the last doll that I ever got. And I thought it was so pretty, but it was cracked on the neck, had a crack, and I just said, this baby isn't well. It's got to have good care. And my sister-in-law had a dog buggy. And dog buggies, as far as we was concerned, in them days, we just didn't get because it cost too much money. But this was quite a good sized one, and she says, Ethel, I can't give you this, but you can take this until that baby gets well. And so she let me borrow that buggy. And how I thought I was so smart to put that doll in, and we lived down in the other end of town and on the hill, come up to the store. We let doll in that buggy all the way up there and back. The mates, I remember all of them. I had neighbors down on one side of us was Lim Leavitt and Agnes, and they had 2 girls and 4 or 5 boys. They had one my age and one just a little bit younger and one older, and it was the age of my sister just older than me. And we'd get together quite often. They'd come up to play with us, and Ed would say, Ed would laugh and say, well, I think we're richer than you are, and I would laugh, oh, I don't think so. Oh, you see that attic up in that house? Yeah. My dad's got more money up in that attic than any of us can pack. And I said, well, we've got an attic up there, but I don't think there's any money up in there. But I bet we've got just as much as you have. And that was our argument most of the time, was whose dad had the most money. But then down a little further was our cousin that lived down there. And down below us in another way was another relative, and she had 5 or 6 kids. And they all come to play. Kids from uptown would come down there to play. It was quite a little ways. Then it seemed like quite a ways out of town, but it's not. But,
What were some of the games you...
oh, Run Sheepy Run, and May I, Hop the Scotch, and what was that one? We hit with a stick and see how far we could bat it. Oh,
You got the one of those things?
there's the numbers on the side and has a tick on this end, a tick on that end. We'd hit the ends and bat it with a club to see how far we could knock it. And whatever number come up on that side, we had that many steps to see how close we could get back to the goal.
Reminded to check that record. Okay. They have a sample of that at the museum.
I'll think of the name of that too before I'm through here.
Okay.
And then, they had one they called Willers. I never did like that one. We had to run and hide, and if they found us, the ones that was keeping the goal, tending the goal, if they could find us, they had big long willers, and they could willer you until you got to the fire. I never did like that one. So, and Beckons Wanted. Oh, that Beckon Wanted. I even remember my kids playing that.
Beckons?
Beckon is Wanted. They see a kid somewhere and they'd wave at him, and that was the Beckon.
Oh,
And
okay.
then they could move places and hide somewhere else. Oh, I don't see any sense to the games now, but we thought this was all right then.
Worked.
Guinea, that was that.
Yes, that's what it was.
That
Yeah.
was Guinea, yeah. Marbles. Girls could play marbles just as good as boys.
What were your holidays like?
About the only holidays we had then was Christmas and Thanksgiving and Valentine. Halloween. All these doings they've shoved in there now. Later years we didn't even have to worry about. But when Halloween come, that used to be one of my favorite holidays, because I always dressed up and went to the dances and always won the prize for the costume. And
What was your favorite one?
and but you know, I kept all my costumes that I'd made. But when I adopted David, and of course Danny and Myrna was older than him, and every time I'd leave to go somewhere, they'd get these costumes out of my cedar chest and put them on and scare him to death. So I finally had to take them all out and burn them. So,
Did you have a favorite one?
no, I don't think. I think the one I had the most fun with was a headless horseman. But one year I was dressed up as the big bad wolf, and another year I was a gypsy, and then I was a headless horseman, and then I was a devil. And
And you made all of your costumes?
mhm.
Sewing them by hand?
Uh-huh.
And your imagining?
Yeah,
Big meals
big meals, just like we do now.
and Christmas? I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, Christmas we usually had plenty of food around. As far as a special dinner, I don't remember having a special dinner, but we always had plenty of food, either ham and a turkey, most of the time both. And
Santa Claus
pies,
came?
anything that you could think of was there. Santa Claus came to the church. I remember when I was custodian down at the church down here, and I had got David, and he was just a little fellow. They asked me to be Santa Claus for the ward, and so I said yes. I had more fun that year, I think.
The kids did.
And I didn't miss a house in town after the program was over, and they all went home. Then I went to every house in town, even down to when I went to Lee and Mary Jones's. They said, "This is the first year Santa Claus has ever come to our house." But they had me go in to talk to each one of the kids. When I got home, I was a huffing and a puffing, but I still had church to clean after that and whatnot. But I'd had the older kids, they knew that I was going to be Santa Claus, so I said, after they're all gone, you lock the church up, so it's locked. I'll take care of it when I get back. So, but I had fun. So, not very far. The ones that had children, they loaded up.
Which mountain was that?
Right up here. It was just there overnight, and it rained and rained and rained. Got up the next morning, and my dad says, "Well, we just got here. Let it rain if it wants to. We just got here. We're not scared of the rain." "No, Grandma Thursday died last night. We've got to go home." And no, we went home. So we all picked our things up and loaded our wagons and come home, and sure enough, Grandma Thursday had died. So I wouldn't have thought there's two narrow escapes. That's too crazy to think any different.
And your home life was like, you sort of described that, and everyone.
Oh yes, there's too many of us. We had to share bedrooms, had to share beds. You didn't get a bed by yourself. You had a sister sleeping with you.
What were your?
We always had. I don't remember too many school parties, but we had, school dances that we were responsible for, like the freshman frolic and the sophomore hop and the junior prom and the senior ball. But
And were there?
they always decorated. And they had a big dance. And they danced. It wasn't like nowadays. You go over there and they'd get in one little spot, and one partner might be where she is, the other might be in the other room. Both of them wiggling back and forth, and that was dancing nowadays. But in them days, we had it lit up. The house was decorated, and there was plenty of lights. And I even pitched them for the boys.
I believe that.
the orchestra?
Well, the orchestra usually comes from St. George until I can't remember the name of the when Johnson, when he here's Johnson, A.E. Johnson from Overton, and he come here to teach school, and then he wasn't around then a few years. Then it was Dad and I to play the orchestra for him to dance, or George Bowler and Nancy. Mother, the later years, she tried to get me to take piano lessons. Me and my older sister, Ethel Leavitt, Mary Frainer's older sister. She was giving piano lessons, so Mother wanted Elsie and I to take piano lessons. Well, I went, Elsie, let me show you how to play that. You're making me so nervous I can't stand it. Mom said, Ethel, leave her alone. But I never went back. Elsie went back for more lessons, but I wouldn't go back. Because I didn't know them notes, but I knew they was playing them wrong.
But you know the notes now.
No,
Oh, you play by ear.
I play by ear.
100% still. I love it. Have any accidents when you?
Motorcycle accident. My boyfriend had a motorcycle, and we got out just going out of town. Of course, it wasn't oil roads; it was just gravel. And he hit the loose gravel, I guess. And he went one way, and I went one way, and the motorcycle went to the street. I've never had a motorcycle since then. My kids, about or two of them, have had them, and I've just been a nervous wreck. Get rid of that thing. I don't want it around. But
Okay. We bought the grocery store and ran it.
there's quite a few of them owned it in between us, but we ended up with it, and I think we finally sold it to Les Abbott. Holy Moses, he says, I bought this store. What am I going to do with the store? I don't remember what he done with it either, but he didn't have it as a store. Now, I think he sold it to the Aussies. Now it's fine.
About what was your? What,
Lived in, at first we lived in where his mother and dad's home is. We lived in part of that house.
his parents.
I am not serious. Them trains and them airplanes, they were driving me crazy. Every minute just flying over the house, and the train just like it was going through our front door. Ever since.
And it was in his parents' house. The oldest.
Well, it was his house then.
By then, okay. So every children, how many?
6 then I adopted. Some of them have got some characteristics of me, and it scares me. The others are more like their dad. I tell Sheila and Cecil, I said, I blame it on their dad, but I said, I've got to put Grandma Leavitt in there too, because I said, they always had to be the first ones to everything that went on and the last ones to leave.
Do you have their dates and all of that? Where did you go fishing?
Down the lake. We did go down to Overton. We always end up round the big days, big old, what do you call it, in the lake. Just getting back to where they can catch bass. I don't think that's what they planted it for, but that's what happened.
I can't remember what narrow.
Second girl I had, Gloria, we had more parties, accidental. She was always, if it was her birthday or a holiday or whatnot, she always thought up something that we had to have a party for. And I said, the one I've got closest to her to do things like that is Myrna. And she's just about as bad as just thinking of something so the family could get together and have a party.
See you later.
All right, come back a little later.
Someone you know?
Yes.
You have older,
Died of leukemia, but she got the leukemia from this fallout where they
the radiation fallout.
It adopted a family of 4 until after they was married. She lived here.
And then
Stuff and it was so thick when then things had come over here, the fallout thing, and it'd land on our oleander bushes. You'd think it was snow. It was just fine. And she'd get under there and shake that off on her. even taste it, because she thought she's young enough, it ought to taste like snow. It looks like when they do what they're doing, and it scared everybody in the country here to death. Or something that'd hit your house, and you'd hear a sound here, and then it'd come back and hit the hills and come back and hit the house again. It'd scare you to death. And then they'd begin to put out when they's going to do another one. And so Dad would load, bringing the kids all in the car, and we'd walk on top of it. So we adopted this family of 4, and they were quite big kids when she adopted them. She adopted baby. It was 4 after she died. The baby, and when they got the baby, then he'd had a little trouble. And when they took him to the doctor, he had a hole in his heart, but they figured that had healed, and I guess it has. Every little while I hear
There it is, it's going now.
it running, then it stops.
Yeah.
But this baby, he's what, 20? I imagine he's about 21 now. Good, handsome man. But he stayed close to the dad, but those others, of course he married again too, and the other wife didn't take to the kids either. She didn't want them in the house and this, that, and the other, and so of course they just haven't. The one I don't know, the dad might know where he is, but I don't get to see the dad very often anymore either, so. But there's some of them are doing pretty good.
The older living relative.
Not that I can think of.
Okay.
Because I've only got one. Dad was the last one in his family, and when he died, and I've got a sister just younger than me, and we're the only 2 left in ours.
What do you consider to be your
Mostly genealogy books and picture books.
pictures, memories?
Yeah, they all see that those are kept up pretty good. So,
Have you kept a diary or a life's journal?
oh, I've bought some 2 or 3 times and thought I was going to do so good, and I don't think I've ever put pen to either. I've always said, my life, I've not lived a very exciting life. Nothing to write about. Nobody wants to hear about it.
So that's why we're here, right?
If I could just go home from school and get on my horse and ride toward the mountain or ride down toward the river, that was all that was necessary.
That was one of the sports and hobbies that you did.
Yeah.
You're riding your...
Yeah. Oh, my granddaughter done that. I don't crochet. I did crochet, but when I was younger, only on my towels and pillow slips and dresser scarves and things like that. And you know, I made a lot of these crocheted hats that we used to put on our heads. And a while back I thought, how did I do that? And I cannot for the life of me remember how I done that. But I like to do quilts. I still do one once in a while. I should have done some for Christmas, but I was too tired, I guess. They'll have to wait till after Christmas. I've tried to use up all my scraps, and so I've just cut pieces and put them together and cut squares. And I said they're not fancy, but when they get done, they're quite pretty. But I've still got. I finally learned to come up one day, and I said, "You take that box, and you take that box. Take them home with you. If you don't want to cut them up, burn them. I'm through fussing." And still, when I get to looking, I find a box here and a box somewhere else, all material to cut up. So I don't know. I said I've got one more I want to do. I've got quite a few in there that I ought to do, need to do, but if they're not done before I go, well, someone else can do them. Fast as I do them, I give them away anyway. So I've only kept 2 out of the last few years that I've made quilts.
Are there particular patterns that you like?
Well, it's just ones that took me so long to do that I just said, these are mine.
And what
And
patterns?
the one is, it's not that it's so pretty, but it took a long time for each one to do. And I'll have to show them to you before you leave.
Okay.
And
Is there Do you have a
Oh, I call it the chicken scratch quilt,
chicken square? Okay.
because that's what it's called.
Okay.
And but I made several of them. I think about every color the material come in, I've made a quilt out of it. So
Want to play? Hooray. That was beautiful.
How did Sheila learn to play?
I just sort of look at your stuff.
Said one of the British corn rings might if I make it.